Tansei adoya nidotem, Pawâcikêwikamik nisigasan. Hello everybody, welcome. My name is Brianna Couture. I am from Gordon's First Nation in Treaty 4 territory, coming to you from Saskatoon in Treaty 6 territory. Today we are going to talk about Cricut Design Space. Now, Design Space is the software that you use to control the Cricut cutting machines. There are many different machines that you can use with the Design Space software, and today we are using the Cricut Maker 3. So here I have logged into Design Space, and you can see the home page of where you will come to when you first log in. And they offer some featured images and featured projects available here on this home page. Some quick navigation here for you. We could start off at what I call the hamburger menu. We've got 3 lines here, and you can see there's home, canvas, and a bunch of wonderful settings and options available here. So if you get a new Cricut machine, you could do a new product setup. If you need to calibrate your machine, that setting is available for you here. Feel free, once you get your own Cricut Design Space downloaded, to kind of poke through some of these settings and just get to know what's available for you here. From the hamburger menu, we can actually go to a new project here. So when you click the green New Project button up in the right top corner here, you'll come to a blank canvas. Now here in the blank canvas, this is where you'll be doing all of your designing, all of the editing and functionalities. So you can see we've got a grid space here where we can set up measurements and kind of understand how big our design is going to be. Along the left-hand side here, these are the canvas tools. So we have the design panel where we could start a new canvas. We could use a template on our canvas, get a new project. We could also add a shape to our canvas, add images, text, phrases, or upload images into the canvas. So that is the design panel on the left there. Okay, so let's add a basic shape to our canvas so we're able to see some of these edit functions in action. So here I've just added a simple hexagon. I can resize it here. I can rotate it just using these icons just around the image on the canvas. On the edit bar here, we have an undo button, so that will undo the rotate that I just completed, or you can redo the rotate. You can change your operation type from a basic cut to a draw or a print then cut. You can change the color of your item here. They have a couple of preloaded colors that you're able to select from. Or if you use advanced, you could use an RGB hex code, I believe it is, or an index code to be able to select the color that you want for your shape here. We can also cut or copy this shape. The offset feature is really cool. I use this a lot with fonts when I'm writing words because it'll add just a little bit of a margin right around the whole shape. So if you apply that, then you're given another shape where it's giving you a bit of like a border. So that's awesome when you're using the fonts usually, is the case that you would use that in. We can arrange our shapes here. So if we had multiple shapes, a star, and using arrange, we can send the star backwards so it's underneath the hexagon, or we can bring it to the front so it's above the hexagon. So just kind of layering your images however you'd prefer. If we highlight both of these images here, we can actually align them. So we can align them left, we can center that horizontally. completely center it. So if you're wanting to, create a logo or some simple design here, you're able to use the align functions to get them lined up as much as possible. Here we've also got a flip function, and you can flip your image horizontally or vertically. When your shape is so symmetrical, you don't really notice too much of a horizontal flip here, but the vertical flip, you'll see that make a big difference. On the edit bar here, we also have sizing. So these sizes, these measurements are in centimeters, and you can adjust the width of the image, the height of the image, and there is a lock button here, meaning you're keeping your proportions in place. So if you want to unlock and change the height of your object, you'll see it starts to stretch out as the width is staying the same, but the height is growing taller and taller there. Again, we have the rotate function available here in the edit bar as well as around the shape itself. So you're able to give it a bit of a rotate, or you can actually just grab it right on the canvas and turn it to where you feel it's comfortable. And then we have X, Y coordinates here for the position of where this design is on the canvas. So we can see that it starts at 5 centimeters, 5.5 centimeters X, and it's 6.2 centimeters Y. So that's where the position is in relation to the canvas itself. So those are our basic functions across the top edit bar here. On the right side, we have the layers panel. And so under the layers, we can see each of the objects we have on the canvas. I have the star, I have the pentagon. You can toggle the view on or off for that. So just clicking on that little eyeball icon will toggle it on or off. You can select one or the other just from the layers menu here. There's also a color sync menu where you can plan the colors that you're going to cut out on your materials. So say you wanted all of them to be one color or another, you want to know how many colors you have in your project. The color sync allows you to really quickly at a glance see what shapes are under which color and how they're aligned. Under the layers menu here, we can duplicate a shape or delete a shape. And if we select more than one shape at a time, we can group them or ungroup them. And grouping your shapes at the same time is great. If you want to keep them as they are and move it around the canvas, they'll stay together, grouped together, so that you're not going to lose how you have it set up. At the very bottom of the layers panel here, we have slice, we have weld, attach, and flatten. Now slicing is really cool because you can actually cut a shape out of a shape. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to ungroup our simple shapes. And I'm going to take some text here and we'll move this into the shape. So I'm highlighting both the text and the pentagon shape here, and I'm going to align them center so that the high is in the center of the pentagon. And with these two items selected, I can slice. And from the slice result, that will give me a blue high, a black high, and then the pentagon shape with the high sliced out. So it gives you some of that negative space, which can be really fun to play with when you're designing and creating. Welding is really important. So say you have your word here. We're going to, I'll just drop some new text here. And we want to split this word up. So we'll ungroup the word. And now each letter we're able to move and adjust however we see fit here. So a lot of fun ways to be able to kind of edit products here. Now I've kind of arranged these how I would like, and if I weld them together, now that's going to be one word that's all together, and it's saving the dimensions that I set each of those letters into. The attach function is somewhat similar, I would say. You can, if I take my high and I take my pentagon here and I attach these together, that means it's kind of similar to grouping, where they're going to stay in the same positions no matter which way you move either one here. And then if you were to flatten, I'm bringing my star over here, I'm putting it in with the hexagon here, and you can see if I highlight the star with the hexagon, if I flatten them, that star has now become a part of the hexagon. So it's no longer its own shape in the layer menu here. It is flattened right into the hexagon shape there. We can also unflatten. We can take that star away now. We can detach the attached high and the pentagon here. So now again, those are separate pieces. But the thing is, if you weld, there is no way to unweld. So when we look at the word split here, we'll notice that there is no option to be able to unweld split. So what we could do is we could use a shape, and I'll just add a square here. So we've just added the square, and I'm going to line it up over that S, and I'll select the word split as well as the square, and then when I slice them, then we'll see the plit is separate from the S here. Another thing we could do with a weld is we can actually contour. So in the layers panel on the right hand side here, right in the very bottom right corner, there's the contour, and that will actually show us all the pieces connected to this this image or this word. So we can click on pieces that we want to turn off. So if I clicked off the circle inside the P here, and then I close the contour, we can see our P is now filled in here. We could also use the contour, and we can click on the I, the dot above the I, and then when we click X again, we can see the dot above the I is missing. So that's kind of how you use the contour feature to be able to kind of change some of your welds or some of the imagery that you have on your canvas. Last thing about the canvas here is we also have a zoom feature. So right now it's at 100%. We're looking at 10 centimeters across, 10 centimeters down. We can increase that if we're working on some really fine detailed stuff, or we can actually back it out and get like a bigger view of what that might look like when it goes to print. We have a save feature up in the top right here. This is really important as you're creating, is you want to make sure that you're saving along the way, so then you don't end up having something crash and then you've lost it all. So when you hit the save feature here, you're able to title it. And you can save it to a certain collection if you want, or you can just generally save it to your design space. It's asking me to choose a save location, so I could save that just into the cloud and the computer, or I could just save that cloud only. And I'll select cloud only so that any other place that I need to access this, I'll be able to use this on my, my mobile phone. I'll be able to use this on any other laptop or computer that I sign into. Now, at the top, you can see the title has appeared here in the title bar, so it says test. If I make a change to anything here, now it has an asterisk. And so that's kind of your way of knowing, have I saved lately? There's an asterisk here, meaning that it's been changed since it was saved. So that's really important for you to be aware of in terms of making sure that you are saving all of the changes. So if we hit save here again, then that asterisk is gone. And so we know nothing has changed since it was last saved. So those are some of the basics in terms of navigation and functionalities. I would say we can get a little bit more in depth here. So I'm going to clear our canvas. We're going to start brand new. And let's take a look at some of the templates that we have available here in Design Space. These templates are great for when you are designing for a certain product. So say you've got a t-shirt that you want to design for. There's a classic t-shirt template here. And so I'm loading this up to the Design Space. It's telling me here with a warning that this template is not going to show up on my print. So that's just letting you know that this is just a reference for you. It's not going to end up in your cut or anything like that. This is just to help you maybe size things, placement-wise, help you with that design. Under type here, you can select if it's a men's, women's, kids, toddler, baby t-shirt. So lots of great options there. And there's also a size. So we'll say we're designing for a men's large t-shirt here. And the template has adjusted. We're at 25% view here. So if we even zoom in to 100, you can see how big that t-shirt is here. So that's a really great way to help with your sizing and your dimensions and trying to understand where your placements will be when you get your finished cutout. We have in the layer bar over to the right-hand side, you can see the classic t-shirts is noted at the bottom right. And so you can actually toggle that off or on using the little eyeball icon. So if I turn it off, then that template is gone. But if you turn it back on, it's right back there for you. Now let's take a look at some projects available in Design Space. There are different categories that you can filter by using this drop down in the top right. I always love to look at free projects, so you can see there's a huge free section here available for any kind of designs that you're interested in. You could also look at free for the maker. Oh, that's not an option anymore. They used to have a free for the maker option. So looking at these free projects, you can see there's lots of great things that you can do with a Cricut. You can design some cards, you can make some party decorations, do some wonderful gifts. If you end up creating your own designs, you can see My Projects here, and that'll just show you all of the designs that you've created previously. So I have some wonderful projects that definitely make me smile when I look back on them. So let's take a look at how to upload our own images to Design Space. What I've done is I've gone to a website and downloaded a free icon. So when I come into the upload feature here, I click upload image, and then I can browse the computer to find where that image is located. And now here in the upload image, I can select the image type as simple, moderately complex, or complex. This is a simple image right here, so I'm just going to click simple and then continue. Now, if there were a background on this image, it would appear completely white, but since it has the checkered background, that lets me know that the background is already gone. You can use the background remover here to erase any background pieces, or we can even erase pieces of the image that we don't want. So say, for example, this star here, I don't want it there. I just simply click on it, and it's gone. I can preview the cut image using this feature here, and so that kind of just lets me know what's this going to look like when I cut it out of material. So this is basically what we're looking at there. I can click Apply and Continue, and it asks me to select the upload type. So if we're going to be cutting this image out of vinyl or paper or any kind of material in the Cricut, we want to use a cut image. There's also the option to print then cut, and so that's where you would use a printer to print this out on paper or photo paper, transfer paper, and then the Cricut will take that paper and cut it around the image that you've printed. But that's a lot of steps, so we're just going to use a cut image today. And you can select a different name for your image if you want, and then you click Upload. So now that's available in my recent uploads here. And I can take that image and I can add that to my canvas. And there it is. We can see it's 17 centimeters wide, 18 centimeters tall, here on my canvas, ready to be cut. Let's take a look at how we can use text in our designs. So clicking on the text function and the left panel there, we can see our word has popped up, and we can actually change this word to whatever we want. Now, our operation here is a basic cut, meaning it's going to outline every single part of the letter when it cuts it out, and then you'll be left with your word out of material. Under the font option here, we can change which font we want this to be cut out of. We can use system fonts, so if we have downloaded fonts onto the device that we're using, the computer, the laptop, the tablet, or mobile phone, we can actually access all of the system fonts available as fonts that we can cut out on a Cricut. Cricut Design Space also has some of its own fonts that you're able to use. So there's the Cricut option here. And a lot of these fonts you'll have to maybe pay for, or you might need the Cricut Design Space Access subscription to be able to access some of those fonts as well. As with most text editing softwares, you can select your style. Sometimes you can select like an italic or a bold, but this particular font I've selected does not have any of those options. You can change the font size, either just clicking up and down on the font size here, or of course you can use the resize right on the canvas here. Letter space. Now this is a great tool if you want to make your word wider apart or bring it together. So if I increase the letter space, you can see the space between each letter is making it wider. We also have a line space. So let's say we have two words here, one on each line. We can change the line space. I'm going to bring that down, minus, into the minus, so our words get closer and closer and closer together until they're almost touching. Alignment. We can have left alignment, center alignment, or right alignment. And into the advanced here, we can ungroup letters, we can ungroup lines. And again, that just allows you to be able to manipulate each letter, resize it, place it in a different way so that you're able to transform these words into something really special. So we're getting into some of the big features here. Let's take a look at what it looks like to actually send this image or this word now to cut on the maker. So we'll take our maker and we're plugging our USB into the laptop here so the laptop can connect and communicate to the maker. Up in the top right corner here we have the green Make It button. And this will actually sort our projects onto mats. So we can set it up on a mat or on a card mat. And we're not doing a card today, we're just gonna set it up on a mat. And then you can select the mat size. So we have the square mats that are 30.5 centimeters by 30.5 centimeters, or we have the larger rectangular mats, which is what we have here in stock, and that would be 30.5 centimeters by 61 centimeters. And you can actually check a box here to make sure your Cricut remembers which mat you use most often. So we'll click Continue. Oh, and it still never changed my mat size. So under material size, I can go to 30.5 by 61 centimeters, and now we see, okay, so there's our full mat. It has the color here, so if we had our words in a different color, the mat would appear in that color. It's just a gray word right now, so we see that the mat appears to be gray. We can select multiple copies of this project using this function right now. So if you want to cut it twice, 3 times, you can use the project copies function right at the top here. You'd click Apply, and then you can see that has come up a couple of times there. But we just want to cut it once. We're back down to 1. Oh, and then the mat size changed as soon as I selected a different project copy. Okay, so we're back on the proper mat size. Now the mirror function here is going to be used depending on what type of material you are cutting your design out of. So say we were to use HTV. Most of the HTVs you're cutting from the back side so that when you iron it onto the shirt and peel away the carrier, that's the side that's facing forward to you. So you would mirror any words or any images so that you know you're cutting from the back side, and then when you place it face down and iron it on, peel away the carrier, it's right side up from then on. Using maybe a removable or a permanent vinyl, you wouldn't want to mirror those as you're cutting it the right side up. There are some exceptions to HTV mirroring. I have had some pattern HTV where you cut it right side up, and then you have a special transfer sheet or transfer carrier sheet that you would use to lift the design off of the backing and then iron it onto a shirt. So just make sure you double check your HTV if it needs to be mirrored or not. So often it'll have the instructions right on the roll when you purchase the roll of vinyl. So in this instance, we're just going to mirror it just to see that the words flipped backwards, and then we can click Continue here. Now it's going to connect to the maker here, and it's asking us to set the base material. So we can use the Browse Materials button here to search for all the different materials that are compatible with the Maker 3. There are over 300 materials that you can use on the Maker 3, and I would say I most often use vinyl. So I'm going to go from all categories just to the iron-on. And we're going to use an everyday iron-on. So these are, could be the Cricut brand everyday iron-on HTV. This could be the Caesar brand, Easy Weed, vinyl. And we'll just click Done. Now it's asking about a pressure here. Default pressure, more pressure, or less pressure. I always like to do a test cut if I'm cutting a big project, so then I'll know if my blade is doing well. If my blade is maybe a little bit dull, the cut's not going all the way through, you can use a little bit more pressure. That's something that you can just kind of play around with and explore in terms of troubleshooting if you come across any kind of problems. And then it says here, no tool required in clamp A. So that lets us know that clamp A of the machine here can be empty. It's not going to be using clamp A, but that we want the fine point blade loaded into clamp B. And so that's what we have, is the premium fine point blade available there. And then we would just load our mat in, and it'll be ready to cut after that. So that's kind of how you manage some of those functions. If you click on the wrong material here, you could always come click right back on there and select a different material. You can use the little star icon to be able to favorite a certain material. And so that'll appear in the popular or favorites as well. So you can get to star or favorite some of your most used materials. I believe you're set to a limit of how many you can favorite, so might need to just be picky about what you're selecting there. So Design Space is available on Windows and Mac. It's also available on Apple iOS or Android, Google Play, so you're able to use your laptops or tablets or mobile phones to be able to design. Mobile phone and tablet capabilities are a little bit different than what you would see on the desktop, but they do have most of the functionalities available there for you.